Hey everybody, welcome. My name is Paul Morehead and I'm a visual artist. So I'm making this video today because I have been working on this series of illustrations of animals called Animal Intelligence, and developing this series over the last 3 years has changed the course of my professional life, and I would really love for your support. So this series of illustrations is traditional watercolor and colored pencil, and the illustrations are based on a system called the dream arc. And the dream arc is 192 animals, and each animal represents a different aspect of intelligence, of wisdom, and of how we connect with one another, ourselves, and the world. And my journey has been in learning from these animals as guides, as teachers, as embodiments of these archetypal qualities of intelligence that we all carry within us. I had a gallery exhibit that was very successful, and now the show is moving to Los Angeles. So I need your help in presenting the work in the most professional and impactful way possible. I really appreciate this, and I really look forward to connecting with you guys in person. So thank you, and have a blessed day. These are teachings that are not, the origin story is so bizarre and fascinating. It was like a student of some great teacher who was very, who was skilled, but like not very confident, and he wasn't like a top student or anything. And he went and sat down by the river, and he was just staring at the water, and he looked over and sees a turtle. And he saw the geometry on the turtle's back, and he was just completely empty. Like he had no thinking of himself or time or worry. And he saw the way the grid of the turtle's six, the hexagram, interlocked on all the sides. And he had like a cosmic consciousness awakening where he was just immediately transported, where he saw the geometry of the universe and how it all fit together. And then he started to like see all these patterns everywhere, and the six and the three lines that make up the 2 third lines that make up the six. And so it was just a natural emanation or teaching that didn't come from some philosopher who was trying to teach us how to live. It came from nature, right? So like this is the same. Like these animals were not like, what does the donkey mean? Let me like look up online. What does the donkey mean? No, it was like these animals came to the guy who developed the system over years, like over 5 or 8 years, slowly. And every single time an animal would come, he would work with that animal like intimately, and then refine it, and then see how it connected with the gene keys and the I Ching. And it was not a linear approach either. It started with the bee, and then the bee eater, and the symbiotic relationship between those two animals, and how the bee represents this like synergy of the hive and the fear of losing oneself in community, and how we need to find the higher values and ideals before we commit to something, right? And then the bee eater is divine. It's the vision of intoxication, because when it eats the bee, it gets drunk on all the pollen and all the like chemicals that the bee has. So there's this weird relationship of like the divine drunk, and someone who gets like so like love bombed, and they just like Ram Dass, or someone who's just like pure love, and then that relationship with the fear of losing oneself, which is really what we're all afraid of in a spiritual path, right? Is the fear of losing our individual sense of who am I, and then that dissolves, and then all that's left is love. And these animals are here to teach us that, basically, in these different ways. That's really all it is. And sometimes it'll, like, I don't know, if it's a big animal, it's going to be more than a moment's teaching. It's probably going to be like a while before we learn that lesson, or it's going to lead us into some initiation. Hey everybody, this is Rosy Aronson. And Rosy Aronson is a artist, healer, oracle. She's been working with Richard Rudd, the founder of the Gene Keys, which a lot of the system is deeply woven into, and a lot of it's based on those teachings. And I've gotten to know Rosy a little bit over the last year or two with this Dream Arc system. And people have been having some stories with animals, and they've been sharing their experiences. And we've been just reading pieces of the Dream Arc as they come up. And I gave a little bit of a background story, kind of where this came from, the emergence of the I Ching, and a little bit about the Gene Keys, but not really about the Dream Arc, how it emerged or anything like that. So I'm going to let you go for it, and I'm going to have a mic in case people have questions so you can hear them.
Okay, fantastic. Oh, I've never done this before. I've never beamed in like this. I'm so impressed you figured out how to do it.
It's the future.
It's the future. Okay, well, hello everybody, and I really want to extend a giant heartfelt thank you to you, Paul, for inviting me to join you on your final gathering and to witness and celebrate this momentous moment and huge accomplishment of yours as an artist, and also to get a chance to share about the Dream Arc. And I just want to say before, we did a little sound check a little while ago, and Paul gave me a little tour of the art, and I have no words. Like the depth, the beauty, the power, the radiance, the care that you have brought to every single detail, it just speaks straight to my heart. So I really wish I was there to experience it in person. But even from here in New Mexico, I feel the power of your creation. So thank you for that, Paul. And I also just want to say I feel especially honored to be here with all of you at this time, because this is a very heartbreaking and potent and transformative time in California. And I'm aware that many, if not all of you, have in some way been impacted by the fires. I myself lived in Berkeley for 20 years. So California and its land, its people, its animals, its plants, it's all very close to my heart. So it really means a lot to me that I have this chance to connect with you all now, and hopefully to weave in some Dream Arc healing and magic into the space. So does everyone hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Oh, I wish I was in the room with you. Okay. So let me just start with a couple of questions for you, and maybe Paul, you can make sure that I can hear, see what people share in response. So I'm just wondering, let's raise your hand if you're as in love with Paul's artwork as I am.
Oh, God.
Oh, good. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Okay, and how many of you were familiar with the Gene Keys or the Dream Arc before coming here to Paul's exhibit and workshop? I'm curious to know about that. Oh, so it's all pretty new. It's new for you all. That's great. Okay, very good. And then I thought before I dive in, I just wanted to ask you to help me bring some animals into the space with us. So are there any animals that are close to your heart right now? It might be one of the beautifully represented images in Paul's artwork, one that really grabbed your attention, or it could be an animal archetype or an animal that you've always just felt really connected to in your life or have drawn strength from. It could be a real animal that you know and love, or perhaps an animal who's been particularly impacted by the fires that you would love us to just bring some loving awareness to. Or it could be an animal if you've been exploring your Gene Keys profile that's connected to that. So just if you could speak the name of animals into the space, I would just love to hear them. And then we can just take a moment together to acknowledge that these beings are with us, and we're inviting their energy into the space, their support, their wisdom into the room. So I'd love to hear, what are the animals that people would like to bring in?
Cat.
We got cat.
Cat, okay.
Polar bear.
Ooh, polar bear.
Ooh.
wolf.
Mm.
We had a little round table earlier, and we had a couple interesting ones. There was ladybug,
Ladybug.
and peregrine falcon was drawing people's attention in.
Ooh.
And a woman here had an incredible experience with a stag in the Southwest.
Mm. Wonderful. Wonderful. So, what I thought I would share with you tonight is how the dream arc came to be, but not just in theory, but like my own personal perspective. And I might give a little information about what it actually is, but mostly I want to focus on how my own journey with it has impacted me personally and how certain animals have really supported me through some of my life's most profound moments and challenges. And then I thought it would be nice to call in an animal from the Dream Arc Oracle for all of us here and for everyone, including all of our fellow beings in Southern California, whether they're human, animal, tree, plant, who have been impacted by the fires. And I guess you could say in a larger sense, we'd be calling an animal in for all of us in the world who are navigating the fires of great change that are just rippling across Gaia right now in ever quickening speeds. And then, of course, if we have some extra time and you have questions, I'd be happy to do my best to answer them or to point you in the right direction. Okay, so if you want, just feel free to take a deep breath, settle into your seat, get more comfortable and into the space for a moment. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the presence of the people around you, the animals that we called in. Pay attention to your breath. And as I'm sharing, I'm going to say all kinds of stuff, but I really invite you just to embody the dream arc spirit by listening with more than your ears, right? That's what the dream arc is all about. It's about going beyond logic, beyond what we think we know, and into a place of deep listening, to the natural world, to the unseen, to our inner worlds, our dreams, our imagination, our intuition, and to the language of symbols, which exists beyond words. So, what can I share about the dream arc and how it came to be? I know that Paul already shared, at least in one of the workshops, about how back in 2004, this is 20 years ago, Richard had a vivid dream of a bee eater bird. And he had this dream just after holding one of the first Venus sequence retreats. And for those of you who are new to the Gene Keys, and it sounds like many of you are, the Venus is actually the specific Gene Keys stream or path that has to do with love, like with human relationships and intimacy with ourselves and with others. So this bee eater dream just opened him up to this deep contemplation about animals and how they're so much more than just creatures, right? They're symbols, they're archetypes, they're teachers, they're messengers of wisdom. And he intuitively started connecting the animals to the 64 archetypes that lie at the heart of the gene keys of the universe. This is like the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching that I think Paul said he shared a little bit about. And he created the first version of the Dream Arc Animal Codex. Now, in this codex, he brought in a more shamanic approach to the spectrum of consciousness, where he paired 64 shadow states or fears with the underworld creatures. These are called the fear keys. And you can see in the images, these are like the underwater creatures and the insects and the reptiles. And then 64 gifts he paired with the middle world mammals, like the wolf, like the polar bear, the life keys. And then the 64 cities or higher states of consciousness with the upper worlds, the birds, the vision keys, the falcon, the woodpecker. And already then the dream arc was becoming more than a codex. It was a conceptual and an increasingly experiential bridge between the conscious and the unconscious, the seen and the unseen, between our waking life and dreaming life. And I think that way back then, Richard facilitated a very wild retreat with a shaman named Peter all those years ago. But after that, the dream arc kind of drifted into the background as other aspects of the gene keys came into the foreground. And it wasn't really until 2015 that Richard first approached me at a retreat in Scotland, actually, to ask if I wanted to partner with him in bringing the dream arc back to life. And at that point, I actually had been deeply involved in the Gene Keys and human design teachings, and they're kind of connected. I don't have to get into the whole human design thing. But anyway, they're systems that are connected. And I've been connected to those for years. I wrote about it, I taught about it, blah, blah, blah. And I had a lot of respect for Richard's work. And my personal or my professional background was in expressive arts therapy and drama therapy, but I always had been very drawn to the unseen, to animals, to nature, the wisdom carried in dreams, as well as by indigenous communities. I was very into Carl Jung. And in 2010, I actually published the prelude to a very long children's tale that's still in the making, which was the result of a very powerful dream that I had back in 1992, which was all about seals and dolphins and animals and archetypes. But Richard didn't know any of that, right? All he knew was that I created this oracle deck called the Wisdom Keepers Oracle Deck, and that it had been inspired by the Gene Keys, at least the writing part of it.
That's your art on the back wall is one of the wisdom keepers, right? In the
Right
background.
behind me.
Yeah, that's one of your wisdom keeper paintings.
Exactly. Good. I even forgot that was there. Okay, so when I really think about it, it could really only have been pure intuition that led Richard to me. And I think that's how life is. It like has this magical way of weaving people and ideas together at the just right moment. And somehow his poetic genius and infinite knowledge and wisdom was just meant to join forces with my love of the expressive and the healing arts and human diversity. And we ended up co-creating together with this amazing team something that neither of us could have possibly birthed on our own. And you could say that the dream arc was like a dream come true that I didn't even know that I had. And it's come to play a very unique role inside of the Gene Keys synthesis. So while the Gene Keys, through the golden path that maybe Paul started to talk about, guides people through profound sequences, the dream arc, like the online journey, is built to guide people through the phenomenon of synchronicity. So similarly, while the Venus sequence is all about human relationships, the dream arc, it just kind of cracks the whole thing open to connecting us with all of our relations, all my relations. And so the dream arc kind of 2.0 was born, and it includes an even more wonderful codex that has been updated and fleshed out by Richard, as well as a living, breathing online journey that's been lovingly designed to reconnect people with their instincts, to awaken the imagination, and to help us remember and dance with the unseen worlds. And we kind of like to call it the online course that gets people offline and directly communing with each other in the natural world. So while we've certainly had our challenges, it's been a big journey. It's also been such a joy to bring the dream arc to life alongside Richard and my teammates like Elijah Parker, Sally Middleton, and Matthew Ashdown. And I've played so many roles along the way. I did some illustrating and teaching and writing and, co-creating and editing and project managing. Nothing I ever thought I would do in my life. But one of my greatest honors has been weaving together creativity with ancient wisdom and co-creating like this vibrant village of indigenous wisdom keepers and incredibly talented visual artists like Paul. And musicians and poets and writers and storytellers and healers and teachers. So I wouldn't be here right now and would never have met Paul or any of you if the dream arc wasn't like at its essence as enriching and inclusive and experiential and village-like as it is. So it's really an amazing collaboration between creative and passionate and inspiring and generous people. Now, another one of the really exciting aspects of the dream arc for me has been working with what we call the life web, which is this like dynamic map composed of almost like a pie composed of 12 different categories or archetypal quests. And each of these categories contains a group of animals who are, each totally unique, but they share a relationship with an archetypal theme. So just to give you a sense, the 12 categories include the guardians, the unifiers, the messengers, the healers, the journeyers, the tricksters, the hunters, the dreamers, the laughers, the warriors, the leapers, and the changers. So as you can already kind of see and feel, these categories or dream arc themes represent just universal aspects of the human experience. And they also correspond to phases in our life, right? To certain energies or challenges or opportunities that we encounter at one time or another, right? Because like sometimes life asks us to open our hearts and find common ground with those who are different from us or think differently than we do. And that would be like the unifiers. Other times we need to really call out our inner warrior and to courageously stand for something or stand for someone that we care about or believe in. And then there are moments in our lives when we're called to go on great journeys or pilgrimages or initiations, as we do with the journeyers, right? And then some of you who are here know more than anybody, there are times when we're just shaken to our core. And if we can allow it, we can be shaken awake by the unexpected, by the changers or the tricksters. And this is kind of when life hands us what we would never, ever, ever choose consciously for ourselves. But we do have the potential to receive as a learning opportunity and something that we can grow from, as difficult as it is. So what I love about the dream arc is that while everybody starts with the same kind of foundation and initiation, which includes a ritual, everybody's journey then kind of takes off, like their journey through the life web, and becomes completely unique. And the path that we take is totally nonlinear, right? It's determined by our hunches, our everyday encounters, our conversations like the ones you've been having just in the past hour, whenever you got here, our dreams, all sorts of serendipitous and oracular opportunities. So it's pure magic in that way and very feminine. And one of my greatest joys has been extending experiential invitations and encouraging people to step out of their heads and into nature, into their bodies, into their relationships, and into their everyday lives. So how are we doing? I'm just going to keep, is everybody okay? Just give me a thumbs up if you're, yeah. Okay. Oh my God, it's hard.
Can I ask, could you mention real quick the school in Ghana that you're working with, the Wisdom School? Are you going to talk about that at all?
Oh, in Uganda?
Uganda, sorry.
In the
Yes.
curriculum? Yeah, I'm working on, together with a small team and a growing number of volunteers to integrate the dream arc into a curriculum that can be kind of co-created with indigenous wisdom keepers in various parts of the world. It's a very exciting program. It's a big project. So I'm happy to talk more about that later, but thank you for bringing that up, Paul.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. All right, so I'll just keep on going. So there are lots of ways to approach the dream arc, right? Those of you who've been journeying with Paul have had the wonderful experience of discovering animals through a direct experience of his artwork, as well as your own Gene Keys profile, perhaps, which is a fascinating and super rich way to work with the animals. And if this is your first workshop with Paul, I really recommend working with him individually and diving deeper if that's something that you feel intuitively called to do. But tonight, I thought I'd just share more personally about my journey through the Dream Arc online course, which has had nothing to do with my Gene Keys profile, not at all. And in that moment, I'm going to just make myself a little tea. Tea break. Okay. That's something I learned from Richard and Elijah. Okay. And the reason why I can share about my own journey is because over the past 3 years, I haven't just been teaching the course, I've been participating in it. And sometimes I wonder if the whole reason why I co-created it was because I really needed it in my own life. I think that often happens for us. We teach what we need to learn. For me, it was really like remembering who I truly am, reconnecting with the natural world, discovering more adventurous and surprising and playful ways to grow and heal and change, and ultimately find the way for me to serve the world. But let me just start by saying that so many animals have offered me healing and wisdom and inspiration over the past few years, sometimes through direct encounters, sometimes through my dreams, sometimes through other people's dreams, sometimes through myths, magic, my own imagination. And like Paul was sharing earlier, I've noticed that birds especially have appeared in my life in crazy ways, especially during times of loss. I mean, like one bird just wouldn't leave me alone for 2 months. It was crazy. I think it was my mother-in-law. But I thought that tonight I would hone in on 5 animals that have profoundly shaped my life over the past few years, guiding me both through the birth of the dream arc and the very unexpected end of a 30-year marriage. And I'm hoping just to give you a little window into how this seemingly kind of playful path can really help people like you and me move through extremely profound changes and find beauty even during life's really challenging moments. So, right around the time when the self-study course launched for the first time, and this was in May of 2022, my teammates, who at the time were Richard, who was the sage, Elijah the wizard, Sally, who was the first voyager, and all of us together, I was the guide. We agreed that we would each choose a guardian to support the birth of the program. Now, there are 12 guardians in the Dream Arc, and you'll see all of them on the walls. And I encourage you when I'm done talking to go and find them. The lion, the bull, the lamb, the whale, the eagle, the swan, the raven, the emu, the crocodile, the butterfly, the snake, and the turtle. And when I discovered through a series of serendipitous events that my guardian was to be the lion, I was actually really surprised. I did not expect it. I was pretty sure I was going to end up with the whale or the raven, maybe the lamb. But over time, as I surrendered to this guardian, I came to realize just how much I needed the lion, which according to the Dream Arc Codex is the life key of loving self-acceptance. So as I got to know the lion and lioness as my guardian, this whole theme of self-love just like burst into the forefront of my life. And really was the lion that helped me untangle myself from fears that held me back for so long, relieve me from the heavy sense of responsibility and the massive free-floating guilt that I'd been carrying since I was a kid. It helped to soften the voice of a relentless inner critic. I realized that throughout my whole life, I've been feeling this unshakable calling to help people step into their authenticity, their sovereignty, their power. I started to understand and feel this inner commitment as lion or lioness energy. I never put those together. And in the Dream Arc, we're really encouraged to use active imagination, which was articulated and explored by Carl Jung, to really let our intuitions lead us down a free associative journey of contemplation and real life exploration with a sense of curiosity and adventure. So during my time with Lion, I went back into my childhood and I reconnected with one of my favorite books. I don't know if any of you read it. You might be much younger than me, but The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And especially one of my favorite movies from when I was little called Born Free, which is all about this couple who raises an orphaned lioness and then ultimately like releases her back into the wild. And the essence of that story is that true love sets free. So one of the most unexpected and beautiful realizations I had when remembering that movie was just how much I had felt like a mama lioness when it came to the dream arc itself. Like on a soul level, the dream arc had felt like my lion cub, like it had been born to be free, but it still needed me before it could really be free and run free. And there were lots of times during those first years when I had to be like a fierce lioness, a fierce mama, like nurturing and protecting this very different, wild and new fledgling in the Gene Keys world and ensuring that it had the love and the attention that it needed to thrive. And honestly, I still feel that way sometimes. And not just in relation to the Dream Arc, but in relation to this curriculum that Paul, had me talk a little bit about that I've been working with for several years, which is, it's a thing. There's a lot of ups and downs and a lot of challenges and obstacles, especially when working in Uganda. So some days I have just needed to roar and stand up for my creative cubs, advocating for their well-being and their worthiness of being prioritized, of taking a risk for, of investing in. And other days I've needed to be soft and tender, holding my cubs really close with so much love and patience. And then there have been days when I've had to remind myself to just rest, like just to chill, like just trust that I was doing enough, that I didn't have to push all the time, that I needed to receive my own medicine and take pauses, like the sloth as well, who plays a really big role in the Dream Arc. And I'm still really working on that one too. But that's what the lion taught me, to know when it's time to hunt, when it's time to nurture, and when it's time to just relax. So, do you want to see the line that I found when I was looking for a representative for my guardian? Because I really wanted to find something that made it easy for me to soften my heart and feel self-acceptance. All right, so I brought it with me here. Oops. Okay, do you see it? Is this in the, isn't that cute? Little tail. Okay, good. I wanted you to see that. It just shows you like it's real. The dream arc is really about like giving space for the inner child, like allowing that in ourselves. So that I hope that even though I'm maybe making a fool of myself, I'm also secretly giving you permission to do the same. And I also created a lion collage. I brought that here too. I don't know if you can see this. Just to give you like a feeling of like ways that we can play with these energies. And this is actually an image from Born Free. It gives my age away. It's like, look at that. I really recommend that movie. It was so beautiful, although it might be super dated now. I haven't seen it in a long time, but the song is absolutely beautiful. And I just also encourage you, to collage if there's an animal that you want to explore or amplify its presence in your life. It's a very fun and easy. You don't have to be a fantastic artist to do it. Like it's just a really fun, creative way to bring the dream arc into your life. So, just for fun, before I move on to the next animal I want to share with you, I just want to invite you to either like make a mental note or jot down if you've got a little, something to write with. Is there someone or something in your life right now that feels like a cub? Like someone or something that is needing your care, your courage, and your mama protection, your mama lioness protection? And I might just extend an invitation or two as I talk, just in case one of these invitations initiates something for you while we're together and as you move through your life. All right, so that's what I want to share about the lion. And now in the dream arc, our guardians might walk with us for a period of time or longer. Many of us who've been around the course for a while have found that our old guardians don't really go away, even if we call in new ones to escort us through a new life passage. So that's really been true for me. So the line has remained with me, even though I've worked very closely with two other guardians since. Now, my second guardian, again, was a super surprise to me. It was the eagle. And the eagle had came to me in a super powerful dream just about a week or two before the first retreat launched, the first online retreat. And in that dream, I was standing in this big room when this huge eagle just stretched out its wings. It must have been at least like 12 feet wide, and it flew towards me in slow motion. And then it hovered right in front of me, pressing its beak against my nose. And its eyes just like looked straight into my eyes. And we just locked eyes for a really long time. It felt timeless, actually. It was super intense. And it was also unusual for me because I don't remember ever dreaming about an eagle before, and I dream about a lot of animals. And it's also funny because when I woke up, it didn't even occur to me that the eagle might be my guardian. I just kind of let the dream fade into the distance. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks later during a team meeting when Richard, Sally, and Elijah were asking each other if we'd be calling in new guardians during the online retreat, that suddenly I remembered that dream and I started to wonder. But I still wasn't sure. It's kind of a big deal to choose a guardian. I wasn't sure about the eagle, and I needed to give it more time to see what would unfold. And then, as often happens in these situations, I started to experience eagle synchronicities, right? So my heating and cooling system broke down, and the specialist that I called worked for eagle mechanics. And just a few days later, I was at a ceremony and I was presented with blue eagle corn. And then when I was watching a TV show that I really loved about a Native American group of teenagers that grew up on a reservation in Oklahoma, I noticed that it was produced by Crazy Eagle Media, that kind of thing. And that's something I found a lot during my dream arc journey. And I bet Paul can speak to that too, that I often experience like a series of seemingly random synchronicities in relation to certain animals, even animals I might feel some resistance to, and it gets me curious, right? My openness towards that animal grows. And that's usually when I turn to the codex to uncover more clues and help me better understand why this animal is coming to me right now. And so in relation to the eagle, it didn't take very long before I started noticing its relevance in my life and embraced it with my full being. For one thing, the title given to the eagle by Richard is The Vision of the Vow of Truth. So in the months to come, I learned and I grew so much because of my relationship with the eagle. It actually really kicked my butt. Some of these animals do that. It's a really intense bird, and it invited me to be ruthless in my pursuit of truth, to practice radical self-honesty. It asked me to take full responsibility for the consequences of my truth, even if those consequences were uncomfortable or scary. Given what was happening in my personal life, like this sudden end of a 30-year marriage, this guy was my best friend, and everything unfolding in the increasingly chaotic world around me, where truth was and still is kind of becoming harder and harder to discern. This pursuit of truth was such a powerful invitation. And then a variation on my eagle-inspired contemplation was in relation to the truth of forgiveness. I kind of went on a truth. I went on a hunt for the truth of forgiveness. The eagle also encouraged me to examine where I was too hard on myself and where I was too soft on myself. And that was kind of interesting because I was used to being aware of the places where I was too hard on myself, but I hadn't really put too much attention on the places in my life where I was actually being too soft on myself. And so there was this like sharp eagle light just pointing at all of those areas where I'd been procrastinating or avoiding or being half-hearted and neglectful, like in relation to caring for my body or dealing with the disorganized state of my drawers and my closets and my tax papers. The eagle really insisted that I just face my situation head on. And that was really necessary, right? Because I was living on my own for the first time after 30 years of sharing responsibilities with someone else. And it was really time for me to step up and grow up and be a fully self-sufficient adult. Nobody was going to rescue me from my situation but myself. And I think Eagle came to me at that time in my life because that's the lesson I needed. The art of boundary setting was another huge lesson the eagle brought into my life. It was the eagle that helped me understand on a visceral level that saying no actually requires energy. And so when I'm exhausted, because I said yes too much and I'm not taking good care of myself, not my body or my psyche, I'm too tired to even know what my truth is or where my boundaries are, much less actually be able to set them. And I have to admit that there were times when I felt very tempted to run far away from the eagle and work with a much more warm and cozy, fuzzy animal. But I hung in there, and I'm really grateful that I did. And I honestly don't think I would have come through that massively challenging time in my life without the firm and fierce support and the modeling of the eagle. And personally, like I said with the lion, I really like to find tangible and intuitive ways to connect with the energy of animals that play a central role in my journey. So I had the stuffed animal with the lion. But when it came to finding an object to represent the eagle, I wanted to wear something like close to my throat, like an object that could represent protection and the liberation of my voice, which is a theme. And I ended up finding, where is it? Oh, here it is. This eagle necklace. Here, see if I can put this up to the, tell me, can you see this? Let me see. Can I see it? You see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Which I infused with energy during my guardian ritual. And then I also found this like little eagle object that I put on my altar. I'm showing this to you in case it inspires you to do something like this yourself. Okay. And another thing I've done just to give you ideas and really recommend this to you too is use music as a way to connect with animals that I'm working with. So just as I listened to Born Free when I was working with the lion, I went on this music hunt with the eagles. So I was listening to songs like Fly Like an Eagle by the Steve Miller Band, Where Eagles Have Been by Wolf Mother, Wolf coming in again, Eagle When She Flies by Dolly Parton. And then I would dig into the lyrics and just discover these relevancies, like these phrases and meanings that I hadn't even noticed before if it was a song that I knew before. And it's just kind of amazing how the synchronicity and unanticipated insights just continue to pop up when we allow ourselves to go down this music association wormhole or just active imagination in general. Okay. So I want to emphasize that over the past years, as I've learned to trust the process, my whole approach to the dream arc has become much more relaxed, more fluid, more trusting, more intuitive. I no longer like rush to conclusions if an animal comes up that I feel resistance to. I trust that there's a reason for it. I follow the threads of my curiosity, my dreams, my hunches, little synchronicities, and I let the process just kind of naturally unfold. And the animals always reveal their lessons to me in their own sweet time, in their own way. And I thought I'd share about a few more animals that played a big role for me over the past few years, but I'll be more brief this time, just to give you like a sense of the diversity. Okay. All right. So during my time in the journey where I was in deep grief in relation to my marriage, I spent a lot of time in the unifier's quest. Since the unifier animals, in each their own way, hold this dream of unity and communion for all beings. And that's when the sparrow showed up. Now, according to the Codex, the sparrow represents the vision of communal tenderness. It's all about guiding us in the art of working together. Richard Wright said if the sparrow has swept into your life, and pay attention to that, if a sparrow sweeps into your life, that means that it's time to turn to others for support. And that message really struck deep because my husband had been my best friend, like I said. I certainly had been leaning into friendships in my Dream Arc team at that time more than I would have in the past. But the sparrow wasn't just telling me to seek support, it was telling me to examine my fears. What old wounds made me hesitate to let people in fully? And what ancestral betrayals might still be lingering in my psyche or making me resistant to true, deep, and intimate connection? So those questions really took me into a very deep process. And I was at the threshold of a new chapter, and the sparrow just reminded me that I was here to heal deep separation wounds and fears of betrayal on behalf of my ancestors, and that I wasn't meant to walk the path alone. So it really changed me, the sparrow, and reminded me that healing does not happen in isolation, no matter how lost or untethered we feel. So I invite you to, as you move through your days, to consider some ways that you might open up to even more support during this time, and how you also might be being asked to heal the wounds of your own ancestors, wounds that may at times hold you back from receiving fully the love and support that may actually be here for you. Okay, so that's what I was going to say about the sparrow. Another creature that had a super unexpected and huge impact on my life has been the insect, the cicada. And I was diving deep into the healer's quest or category at that time. And according to the Animal Codex, the cicada is a fear key. It's an underworld creature who represents the fear of non-existence. And the cicada also asks us to stop comparing ourselves to others and their achievements, and really to start thinking about our true purpose in life, even if it's just learning one really important lesson, just one. Like, I love that Richard talks about, like, what if the only lesson you're here to learn is to experience love? It's not to, like, raise $1 gazillion or be famous, but, just to have a genuine experience of love, as an example. And so one of my favorite parts of the cicada's teaching is that it reminds us that music is medicine, which makes sense because the cicada is this being of sound, of rhythm and emergence, and it spends years underground waiting and gestating and preparing. And then when the time is right, it rises and it sings its song and it transforms the landscape with its symphony. So it was actually so perfect for me that I ended up with a cicada, because finding and releasing my voice and the shame and fear that I carried around it was and still is one of my main intentions for my whole dream arc journey in my life. So the cicada came to tell me that healing comes through sound, and that to hold back my voice is to hold back my life force and my love. And it invited me to journey into sound, into toning and chanting and music for a significant period of time, at least 3 months. And boy, did I receive that invitation. I started to hum and sing. I even made the decision to sit at my altar and sing a song by Sinead O'Connor. I don't know if you heard of it. It's called Thank You for Hearing Me. Every day, every single day, until I could sing it without crying, which was such a powerful practice that I highly recommend for anyone who's healing from a broken heart. And that one practice just exploded into this total reclamation of my love of music. So like right now I'm working on this song prayer project with a friend of mine. I literally just bought myself a ukulele yesterday. I signed up for Native American flute camp this summer. And this is the thing about the dream arc. You have no idea where things are going to lead you if you receive the invitations that come your way and you follow the passion stream that just naturally evolves. So if you feel inspired to take a little inspiration from the cicada, I invite you to amplify your relationship to music over the next few days or weeks or months. You know, you might want to sing a little more or hum in the shower or chant in the shower or make a new playlist. Learn how to play an instrument, or maybe pick one up that you played in middle school and you just kind of stopped. I've got plenty of those. And just follow your intuition into the world of sound and even silence and see what happens. So that's the cicada. And then the last animal that I wanted to share about that's really touched me deeply is the emu, or the ostrich, which is my most recent and current guardian, who also has completely changed my life. And the reason it took me, well, it's so funny, like all of my guardians, I really had a little resistance to, I'm realizing, but it took me some time to accept emu because I was intimidated by it, to be quite honest. You know, this magic bird, this majestic bird, it comes into your life when it's time to prioritize a direct and practical and caring relationship with the physical body. So the emu shows you that no matter how brilliant you may be at philosophizing and contemplating, in the end, your body is the sacred vessel and the bedrock of the soul. And there's no way around that truth, even if you've gotten quite impressive, as I did, at bypassing it. So for me, consistently prioritizing and practicing physical self-care, feeling genuine love and appreciation for my body has really been one of the most challenging and continuously disappointing aspects of my life. And so these past couple of years, you know, that had been pretty rough. And I also had been doing a ton of travel and some major losses, and not just my marriage, but my father passed away last year. So maintaining like body care routines was just really hard. And I'm not really a routine person as it is. But when I finally said yes to emu, this was really interesting. Something really shifted in me. And whatever assumption I had that this journey would mean forcing myself onto some strict, miserable diet or taking up running, all of that just kind of vanished. And instead, I just had this knowing that my journey would be nothing like that at all. And in the beginning, emu started working me by just getting me to remember all kinds of things, like how much, I'm going to have a little more tea, 1 second. Like, like how much I actually enjoyed my body when I was young and how free, flexible, and strong I felt in my body. And then I kind of remembered how slowly but surely my body stopped feeling like a source of joy and it started to feel like a burden, something demanding and disappointing and separate from me. And by the time I was like a late teenager, I'd say I just had completely mastered the art of hiding, suppressing my voice, putting myself down, emotional eating, demoralizing, yo-yo dieting, exercising out of obligation instead of joy. And sometimes in the dream arc, all it takes is one simple phrase from the codex to initiate like a huge transformation. And with emu, you're going to laugh at this maybe, I don't know, but the phrase was, make your legs strong again, which I'm sure is having political connotations for some of you. But anyway, that's what Richard wrote. Make your legs strong again. And that one phrase just changed everything for me. Like instead of forcing myself to obey some rigid plan, I just focused on strengthening or just even lovingly acknowledging my legs, that I have legs, you know, and I started taking longer walks. I spent more time barefoot on the earth and the water. I even took better care of the land outside my house, sweeping up leaves without frustration, even when the next day there were, you know, a tons more to sweep, right? And this is, you know, obviously very symbolic. The leaves became my teachers, showing me the importance of tending to something, not for an end result, but just as a loving practice. And then I bought myself a rebounder, little trampoline. And I swear, if emu had not been my guardian, that rebounder would still be sitting in my closet untouched. But with emu's support, I actually jumped on the thing, you know, and after some initial awkwardness, like I really started to enjoy it, and I still do. And that's one of the things I love most about the dream arc too, is it helps us resolve some of our life's biggest dilemmas and challenges, but in a way that our minds would never anticipate or be able to plan, and in a way that's actually playful and full of delightful surprises. So I wonder what might be one of your life's biggest conundrums, like a hole maybe that you have continually fallen into, a problem that you've tried to fix over and over again to figure out in a million different ways, but you keep like hitting your head against the wall. And my invitation to you is to be open to an animal that somehow enters your life and spend some time with it. Be open to the fact that it might lead you out of the hole in a totally unexpected way. And maybe one of those animals corresponds to your Gene Keys profile. Maybe it's one that you're just going to bump into serendipitously when you walk out of the library tonight and onto the street, or you watch a movie or pick up a book, or maybe it's one of Paul's amazing paintings that moves you in an inexplicable way. So just be open. You never know how the dream arc is going to enter and change your life. Okay, so that was my personal sharing, and I think I will bring that to an end. And what I'd like to do is offer the Dream Arc as a gift to all of you who are here, and to all of those in Southern California, or those of us who have loved ones in California who've literally watched their homes and their businesses and their communities and their sacred sites just go up in smoke. And there are obviously no words that can do heart justice to the shock and disbelief that some of you, or people that you and I both know, have been through, the grief, the sense of dislocation, the loss, not only of the physical structures that have been lived in and worked in, or the objects inside those structures, many of them personal and sacred and totally irreplaceable, but the beloved nature around those structures, the places where life happened, where the trees where the birds sang, and where thousands of beings, both humans and animal and plants, felt safe and belonged to an ecosystem. And while all of this is still happening, while so many people are having to start their lives from scratch, many outside the container of their communities, the world just kind of seems to be moving on to that next thing, right? That next fleeting catastrophe in the news cycle, as if, the uncertainty and the waiting and the exhaustion of dealing with insurance claims and, finding temporary housing and just beginning to grasp what will be required to rebuild a new life in communities, if that weren't enough, right? So there's this additional layer of loneliness or societal abandonment and overwhelm to experience. And you all know much more about this experience than I do, but mostly I just want to say that my heart is with you and your communities and all of the beings who've been impacted. And that's why what I'd love to do is call upon an animal through the Dream Arc Oracle, one that's come to bring a message of comfort during this time of challenge. Because if nature teaches us anything, it's that renewal is always possible, even when we don't think it is. Think about the butterfly that starts out as a caterpillar and patiently transforms until it emerges with wings, or the dragonfly that Richard always talks about, who starts out as like an underwater predator, right? The snake sheds its skin, leaving behind the old to step into the new. The phoenix bird rises from its ashes, reminding us that even after destruction, we can rebuild stronger than before. Then there's the bear who hibernates through the harshest winters and awakens renewed. The salmon that fights its way upstream, right? Showing us that struggle can lead to something beautiful. And even the tiniest ants, like working alongside its colony, like shows us that it's possible to rebuild what was lost step by step. So you and your loved ones and the people of Southern California are not alone. Like these animals, you have resilience in your bones, in your spirit, in your communities, which I have witnessed and heard so much about and have been so moved by. So if it's okay with you, I would like to turn to the Oracle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a mock deck of, can you see this, of the cards. We're going to actually come out with a Dream Arc Oracle box set, hopefully this year. I'm afraid to give a date. And we're so ready. The designs are all ready, but it's been quite an ordeal. But it's going to be gorgeous. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of go over it like this. And then I'm going to pick a card. Okay. So Everybody, let's just hold all of Southern California and anyone in the world who's been through a traumatic fire or catastrophe, whether human-made or nature-made. And let me see here. Hold on, I want to just make sure. Okay. Okay. What did I get? Oh, I got the seal. You see that? Let me see, I put it like that.
Yeah, we see it. Oh,
Okay.
nice.
That's so
Beautiful.
funny. You know, seals they're very important to me.
Oh yeah.
So definitely take a look at Paul's amazing image of the seal. And let me read directly from the Dream Arc Codex so you can hear something directly from Richard. I'm just going to pull it up here. I have my oracle right here. And while I'm reading, if you want, you can close your eyes and just receive the poetic wisdom from the Dream Arc sage and bard, Richard. And just know, first of all, that the seal is a member of the Changers family, and its name is the life key of feminine freedom. And for those of you who are learning about the gene keys, it's connected to the 55th gene key, which is totally connected to the great change that we're moving through. Okay, so now I'm going to read from Richard. Okay. And I'm going to have a little bit of tea right before I do it so I don't sound so dry.
And you mentioned the dragonfly, which is the shadow of the 55. So that's kind of nice. That segue right there.
It really is. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing.
We talked a little bit about the dragonfly at the beginning for
Oh,
some people.
good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, so
Very much. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
we're connected.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. This is what Richard has to say about the seal. I am seal. I stand in the middle between earth and sea, between this world and the next, between you and your future. My people contain a prophecy that only when the past is fully transformed can the golden future dawn. I am a changer, and you must embrace my transformation. You must turn backwards now and face where you've come from. You must face the deep grief of your people. You carry this grief in your cells, and behind it lies the deep-seated human fear of death. Death you must each face alone in the silence of your being. It is the greatest of universal secrets held by our mother. Dive with me into these vast waters. Be not afraid of your fear. It must be felt and embraced before you can take the next stage of your journey. Know that there is always great beauty in the aloneness of the ocean. Like death, it fills us with awe. Awe and fear are in fact related. Can you transform your fear into awe? Can you let go of what was and celebrate the mystery that has not yet come? Can you rest in the gap with perfect equanimity? This is what life is now asking of you. You are in between two lives, two paths. Rest here and bring in the harvest of what has been. Let the future come in its own timing. Be here with me in the waves of deep time. In deep time, all is seen. The concerns of one life dwindle into the background. Let a grander vista emerge inside. You are a divine traveler moving along a line of eternity. Those you love, you will have to let go of one by one. Your dreams, too, you will have to one day surrender. But you will get it all back again. Those you love will return to your side, and your dreams will reform again around another version of you. Ours is the journey of the soul, the journey into the deep feminine wisdom. You are being asked to let go now. So let go of everything. And then let Mother cradle you in her gentle arms and rest in the knowledge that all you love and long for will one day be delivered. Now is a time of pause. Oh my. And then if you want, I can read the contemplation too. It's also very powerful. I can see. Can I do that? Is this too much?
No, yeah, let's do it.
Okay. And then if you want me to stop, I can stop. Okay. Your aura is a transmitter of light. It contains a broad range of high frequency signals that are invisible. These signatures of light emanate from the coded information in our DNA, but they depend on you. They depend on the frequency of your attitude. So if you react to life as a victim, you greatly limit the light frequencies that you are emanating. Then you reinforce the victim behavior and it continues around you. When you respond with openness, with innocence, with love, then you activate a much greater spectrum of frequencies in your DNA. Those invisible forces leave your aura and they stir up counter forces in the outer world. People will respond differently to you. The gift is always activated through love. So that's what Richard had to say. Whew. So tell me, how are we doing? Have I been going for like more than an hour?
I think we're at the hour mark in like
Okay.
a couple minutes. Yeah.
So should I just stop now? Should just kind of bring it to a close? What do you
Well,
think?
maybe we can open up for if anyone has a
Sure.
question or if we want to go into any kind of sharing. Some people maybe had some animals that they connected with.
I would
That
love that.
any kind of open dialogue, we can see what sparks.
Great.
Thank you so much, Rosie. It's such a joy to have you here and
Thank you.
for all your sharing and brightness. It's great. Thank you
No.
so much.
Thank you.
I'm going to relay whatever is said to you because we only have a mic set up through the computer.
Okay.
So,
Sure.
yeah. So Shaylin shared his experience. Earlier, I read the ladybug, and he had an incredible experience with a ladybug that traveled with him for like a week straight or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just stayed in his truck the whole time. And so I read the ladybug, and it actually had like a pretty meaningful resonance for him, and he was just appreciating the show and everything that we've been doing. So it was a deep share. Yeah. Yeah.
I had a ladybug experience too recently with my dad who passed away. My sister, my mom, and I were having a ceremony for him, and right when we were having it, a ladybug just kind of like fell on my sister's hand in her apartment in DC. Like it just came out of nowhere. And then we read the ladybug, and it just felt so much like a message from our dad. Yeah. Very powerful.
Nice.
I think I caught that. She felt really resonated with the Eagles message.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes. You got it. Yes.
Yeah. Potent one. Yeah. Just trust, maybe I said a million things, but if there was one little thing that like lit you up, just trust that and take that into your life. Let it expand, explore, look for it, Google it, read a book about it, watch a movie about it, just stir up the cauldron and see what it leads you to. Yeah.
I have a question. So we are surrounded by peacocks. They've taken over pretty much the streets. They've taken to the streets out here. We have like random 12 or so peacocks running around every day in this area. And I forgot the story of how they got here. It's a really bizarre story. But do you want to say something about the peacock? Because it's so specific. We're talking about the 64,
Yes.
the vision of the 64th, which is actually my my purpose. It's my purpose bird.
Oh, that's your purpose, the 64.
Yeah. In my gene keys. And I just drew one. There's a big one in the entrance, but
Oh, yeah, that's right.
yeah. Do you want to read a little, just like a little from maybe the meaning from the peacock?
I'm happy to do that. Yeah, so
everyone
it's a
here
dreamer. It
a
belongs
dreamer,
to the
right.
dreamers. And just so you know, its partners are the jaguar and the lobster.
A lobster.
Okay, so the meaning, I'm just pulling it up. Okay, so the peacock is such an unusual bird that it holds a semi-mythical status. Each of its feathers represent a flood of divine illumination. The path of those connected to the symbol is to collect all these feathers throughout their life. Such a life is a steady piecing together of a great mythic puzzle that culminates in a permanent absorption in a state of illumination. This state is to know and see the interconnectedness of the web of all of life through past, present, and future. The peacock symbol also teaches one the mystery of the inner colors as alchemical stages along the mystical path to enlightenment. Do you resonate with that, Paul?
It's intense. Yeah. I actually, it's funny because I'm out here in a big way trying to find community, spiritual community outside of my home, right, in Iowa. And I have in some ways found it in all these different pockets in different places. There's a Tibetan Buddhist uh, retreat center called Pure Land Farms that was threatened by the fires, that was very close to burning down. It was right in that area in Topanga Canyon. And I went there the other day for a one-day retreat, and they did like free acupuncture and sound bath, and they just had like this open healing, for the people, anybody who really was affected. And I was so drawn to the land there and the people there. And I was about to do a 7-day retreat, but then we wouldn't have been able to do this. So it wasn't possible, but now I know kind of that trajectory is open and there's some medicine there for me in different cultures, different backgrounds, especially with the Tibetan Buddhists, because my background is more like Hindu, like Vedanta, Hinduism, North Indian. So yeah, different feathers along the path. Definitely, I feel that. Yeah, and they're very Indian. They're worshipped in India, and a lot of different deities are connected to the peacock, like Saraswati,
Yep.
the goddess of wisdom, goddess of music, knowledge. It's very, and Krishna, goddess of
Yes.
divine love. So
Yeah. It's
yeah,
everywhere, Middle East, Egypt, Sufi, Greek, Christian. So in a way, it's
right.
a very synthesizing animal. But
Yeah.
you're such a synthesizer, Paul. And I mean, first of all, how awesome is it that as you launch this, the one place in the world where you're launching your incredible work of art, there's all these peacocks all around you, which is your purpose. And
Yeah.
like each of these paintings is like a feather inside your giant archetypal animal basket. And they also, all the animals of the dream arc represent so many different ancient traditions and wisdom streams. So through the animals, there's this incredible synthesizing that's taking place, and each of them a feather, right? And I love that you're in this time of your life where you're both like birthing your purpose, and you're also finding your people and your places and the wisdom streams that you resonate with and you want to integrate into your life, into the work that you do. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so beautiful. Thank you so much for being here, Rosie.
Aw,
It's great to connect, and I think we're gonna wrap up this part of the
sure.
call, but let's definitely connect soon. And if people want to find your work and like follow up in your website and stuff, do you want to could you share that? Like,
Yeah. Well, one thing you could do is you can just go to thedreamark.com. I think that might be the easiest thing. And then just so you know, like there's a free profiler there where you can find out what your purpose animal is. That's super fun. You can sign up for a newsletter that we do for the Dream Arc, which is called the Gazelle. We have a new to the Dream Arc, totally free program called the Jaguar's Journey. And we have a Dream Arc YouTube channel, an Instagram channel. And we really could use support in like spreading the word. And also, I just, if I'm gonna hop off, I would love for everyone here to start thinking together about how we can get more attention on Paul's artwork. Like just to think like where else might he exhibit? Who of your friends might really love it? How can we spread the word about this incredible body of work that this wonderful man has created? And again, if you want to go deep, go with Paul. He's doesn't get any better than Paul. So I just wanted to say that. Anything else? I think that's it. Thank you for your patience.
thank you so much, Rosie.
Yeah.
It's so good to have you here.
All
And
right.
we'll talk soon. Oh, and you're sometimes on the live calls, right? Is that open to the public or
You mean
no?
like the Dream Pod calls?
Yeah.
You know what we started to do? The
What's
Dream
that?
Card calls are for people who are in the online course. These are like monthly
Oh,
calls where we provide support. But Matthew and
right.
I are starting to give free transmissions every month. And we're going to be doing one about the warrior soon. We also do, like, we're on Instagram every month and we do some kind, just a free thing. We do that. And there are clubhouse calls. There are lots of
Yeah.
ways to participate for free if you just want to dip your toes in. So, yeah.
Clubhouse, I think Clubhouse is a great way because it's like a free podcast, right? And there's often different
It's like,
things about the gene keys and the dream arc, and they're all in there, kind of
it's
woven in.
conversational. People can
Right.
participate and it's just audio. Just
So it's
audio.
just you just go to clubhouse.com and then you search for like the
DreamArc,
dream arc.
maybe. Yeah,
Okay.
look up DreamArc. What was I going to say about that? Just go to the Gazelle, go to the newsletter, because that's where we usually make announcements and events, and you can subscribe and blah blah blah.
I'll bring it up
Okay,
after we close. I'll bring it up on
okay,
the screen so people can see
fantastic.
it.
All right, I'll let you go. Get some
Bye,
sleep
Rosie.
tonight, Paul, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Take
Bye,
care.
bye,
Good to see you.
everybody.
Bye, Rosie.